Hello and welcome to the Magical Learning Podcast. As you can see in our description, we have a guest. But before I get to our guest, just wanted to wish everyone a magical week. And Tim Jack Adams, we'd love to welcome you to our podcast and find out how's your week been so far?
My week has been amazing, actually, Danette. Thank you for asking. The reason being is because I've just got back from camping. So
I
just
love
to,
it.
this whole book launch and everything else has been a little crazy. So I decided to go away for 4 days, just completely disconnect,
Nice.
reconnect back to myself and others, my family, nature. Really just roughed it at Mini Waters, which is a beautiful little spot on the East Coast near Coffs Harbour. So I'm feeling amazing. So yes.
Awesome. What a great way to start a week. I love that.
I know. If we could only do it all the time, hey?
Exactly. Well, let's get into our questions. And first of all, before we talk about your book, I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey so far.
Yeah, certainly. It's probably been a different one to most. Mine kind of started on the banks of Coogin Creek, hiring out paddleboards. Believe it or not. Yes, I know. I did not think I'd be ending up here on a podcast talking about well-being, but here we are. So that's what I was doing in 2012. I was literally sitting on the side of Coogin Creek in Kingscliff. It was one of those gorgeous summer days. I was hiring out paddleboards and kayaks with our company, Water Sports Guru, and I'd literally just signed in a family, and this question just popped into my mind. Why is it when we actively engage in nature do we seem to be healthier and happier? And that's kind of where it all began. And from there, we started doing all the research. We worked with universities and practitioners and academics all over the world. And we eventually came up with this framework called Green X7, although back then it was called the 7 Tools of Green Exercise, which I realized for a company name was terribly long and very boring. So we kind of try to make it a little bit sexier by calling it Green X7. I don't know if it is or not. Certainly not a sales and marketing guy, that's for sure. And since then it's been what? Gosh, 13 years of, basically inspiring people to reconnect back to themselves and others through nature, through this framework and doing it all over the world. And I guess, yeah, writing the book this year. And well, I shouldn't say this year because it did take me 8 years to write the bloody thing. COVID, 2 kids, throw it all in the mix. But, it's, we're here, Danette. We are
I
here.
love
So thanks for asking.
I love that. And I love that story and how it all came to you on the banks of the river. That's awesome. That's so good. What prompted you to write Energized? And I'd love for you to hold it up because we've
Oh,
got
okay.
some people who'll come in on YouTube.
There we
Look at
go.
the cover.
Yeah, I know the cover. I do like the cover. Why I give credit to Wiley for that cover. It does feel very grounded and
Yes.
energized. So good work, team. What inspired me to write this? Well, this was interesting because someone asked me this as at the book launch, and I had to go back to the evolution of when it first started. And it was actually in 2016. I found an email to one of our board of advisors, Ron, and it said, "Hey, Ron, thinking about penciling a book in based around this framework and what I'm learning. What do you think?" That was 2016. I did fail English at school, so thank God Wiley knows how to edit and proofread. Um, but it was honestly all, and I did some reflection on this the other day with my wife, Carly, because I think it was all around the framework that I used for myself to actually start to kind of heal old wounds and work out how to thrive sustainably for myself.
No.
Very interesting childhood. And I think for me, it was really about taking 20 years of the first of my life and really unpacking that and understanding how to do better would probably be the easiest way. And Energize came from me understanding how to sort of go from surviving to functioning now to thriving for over a decade and really putting in all those principles around how we've been able to do that, not just for me, of course, but for thousands of people all over the world now. So yeah, it's been quite the journey.
I love that. That's awesome. What a great story. Um, so then can you share the purpose and impact of your one question, which is how's your battery?
Yes. Well, this question came, it was in 2016. I lost a really good friend and business partner of mine to suicide.
Oh,
Unfortunately, the same day I was with him, and, we worked together every single day. And it was always the same thing, mate. Are you okay, mate? How are you going? Yep, Timmy, I'm great. Life's good. And I think, too, growing up with five brothers, emotional intelligence wasn't that high. Every time someone said, are you okay? Even if you weren't, you just said, yep, I'm fine. And so we kind of needed a way to work out, number one, like, what is well-being? Because I think, when I was growing up, well-being was going to the day spa and getting your nails done. That was literally what we thought well-being was in my family.
yeah,
Cle- Clearly, that's not it. Well-being just means being well if we're going to simplify it. And I think for me, it was, when Mal passed, I needed a way to understand, for myself and for others, what well-being was. How do we measure it? How do we actually talk about it? And then how do we improve it? And so we kind of went back to the drawing board. At this stage, we'd already been implementing the Green X7 framework in, hotels like Six Senses and a little all over the world.
nice.
Um, but it was still that thing that, the average Australian was, yeah, what is well-being and how do we actually talk about this?
Yeah,
So we realized that we could actually distill well-being into 8 areas of our life. And that's, having purpose, making sure we get enough sleep, physically moving our body so we have energy, eating the right foods, right? Having a great mindset. So an open, growth mindset, having fun, which I've found out from measuring Australia's well-being for the last 7 years, we're not very good at having fun anymore, which is crazy because Australians were always known as the larrikin country, and yet we've kind of lost the title now. And then the most important things is friendships and relationships. And so when we distill these 8 areas, we worked out finally what well-being was, but then we needed to know how to measure it. So we actually created an app back in 2017 that within 60 seconds, you could literally ask the question, how's your battery? You do it. It literally tells you, gives you a snapshot of your well-being, and then it'll actually give you suggestions on how to improve it. Plus, the idea behind it was you share it with your friends.
yeah,
And so what we'd created was basically a way for me to share with my mates, my brothers, how we're actually doing without putting the mask on, becoming vulnerable, which as blokes, we don't want to do that, right? Like, it's this whole bravado thing. And so, yeah, it was kind of this beautiful way to share how you're doing and for your mates to be able to support you. And from that, we actually end up getting the contract for the Australian Defence Force, working with the cards and, yeah, PTSD soldiers. So it kind of started from there, and it's just been, growing ever since. And the way that it just makes well-being really simple and measurable. I think that's why it's become so popular now.
yeah, yeah, and I did it last night. It's awesome.
How did you go? Okay, I've got to ask you, Danette, how was your battery?
95.
Whoa! Get out! You're a unicorn, girl.
Well,
Woo-hoo-hoo!
I'm so on purpose with my life, and I
Wow.
usually live on my farm in the middle of nowhere, so I'm surrounded by nature, I connect with people every day, so I just have, like, the most beautiful life that I'm so grateful for.
You or I could it's okay, so you are in the top 1%. We
Oh,
call you the
wow.
unicorns. So let me just put in perspective for our listeners. 64% is the average Australian batteries over the last 7 years. So we're only functioning, guys. We need to do better. Danette here, your host of the show, is a unicorn. I'm gonna tell you a very funny story around this, Danette. So
Please.
when we first created this back in 2017, I was on my a second date with my now wife Carly, and we'd worked out what zones there were. There was survival zones, 0 to 50%. Then you had functioning zones, which was 51 to 70%. Then momentum, 70, 80 to 90, and then 90 was like unicorn zone, right? Like I mean, like this is just the epitome of greatness. And I told Carly, I said, look, we've just created this app, and I just need some user experience for me, right? Would you mind doing it? And she's like, yeah, sure. She got 93%. I popped the question the next day. I was like, if I marry a unicorn,
I
my
love
life will be bloody easy. And I'm telling you, anyone out there, find a unicorn and marry him because it makes life so easy. So there you go, mate. Well done. Proud of you.
there's a whole other, business you can do as a side
Oh,
project.
maybe instead of like a Tinder thing, we could actually do the battery check and then find unicorns and match Oh man, this is a whole new business idea. Wowzers.
I
We'll
love
stop
it.
loneliness no time.
Oh, that's so cool. Oh, so, my next one is, What are a couple of tools that you'd recommend for people who want to sustainably recharge their batteries? And also, why do you recommend those tools?
Yeah, 100%. So this is the beauty of it because, we're so inundated with wellness tips and tricks, right? But the thing is we actually have to bring awareness to our well-being to first understand what we need to do and what area of our life we need to recharge. Because there's no point trying to do a million of these things and still not understand what's actually bringing you down in the first place, what's sucking your energy. So the easiest thing I say is, okay, well, do your battery check in 60 seconds, find out exactly what is draining your energy, right? And so if we say, and I can't even take you as an example, mate, because there's not much we can
Sorry.
do with you. Yeah, but I'm going to take, okay, I'll take someone's battery that I did yesterday. So I'm starting to coach a new leader. Their battery is 55%. Not amazing, but that's obviously why they reached out. And okay, so really, really low in fun, which is pretty normal for a leadership. Sleep was terrible. Nutrition was pretty atrocious, and physical health wasn't amazing. Now, purpose was really good, which was amazing, and friendships and relationships were great as well. And the reason why I wasn't too concerned is because of those two things are really strong. If those two things aren't strong, then I get a little bit worried and I kind of just put them on my, caution list. But it's wonderful when people have that support mechanism around them. I can sort of breathe a little bit easy. But for her, the first thing we needed to do was obviously create a sleep routine, right? So she would start to get those 7 to 8 hours because I know that once we start looking after that, she'll have energy to start moving her body. So then it was just about creating a nice 30-minute routine, like you were saying about walking. First thing in the morning is amazing because it helps with circadian rhythm. And then obviously trying to take some time out of her very busy schedule to look at her nutrition and how we can pre-plan some meals so she eats better. And even just those things, which are so, so, so basic, walk each day, eat better food, get some sleep. We all know these things, but it's the fact that people aren't taking the time to actually reflect on how they're going because they're so busy being busy that the moment that she did this battery check, and I don't know if I think it was from reading my book. Now, the problem was she stayed up until 2 a.m. reading my book. So that didn't help with sleep.
Oops.
So I was like, sorry about that. My bad. But the thing is that once you actually do bring awareness to your well-being and understand which of those areas you're struggling with, then we could just create a really simple technique around it to improve it. So I would say find out where you're suffering and then start to recharge from there.
Yeah, I love that. And, Tim, I have always been through uni, through everything, 8:30 to bed every night because I love early
Mm,
morning. Like my brain kicks in about 4.
me
And I
too.
reckon because I've nailed that for so long, it's just I can be anywhere in the world and my body goes, "It's 8:30, it's time to be in bed." So I'm
It,
very grateful that my body does that at this age, so
It is the foundation, and I wish I could. Look, it's kind of good because sleep now is, we're understanding how important sleep is. All the research and the science around it is getting out to people. So we're kind of, when I do talk to leaders, I can really hit home about that research that if you don't get enough sleep, it's like rocking up drunk to work and all the things. So, and it's all about leadership's all about productivity, right? How do I get the most out of each and every single day? So and this is one of the reasons why you're a unicorn, is because you've already understood the value of your sleep. You've created, this framework to make sure that you get it. And this means that every single day when you wake up, you've got the energy and the vitality to do the things that you need to do. So you were kind of a green exit before my book even came out, mate. Really, you could have written this book, Danette. Let's be honest.
I love that. Because I know a lot of people out there are really into improving their focus, improving how they recover. So what are some really smart ways that they can actually do that?
Get off the bloody screens. That's the smartest way to do it, honestly. It's this is so interesting. Look, the reason why I took myself away in the family camping for 4 days is because, look, we're all very busy, right? I've got two kids under four. I've got three businesses. We have staff. We're launching a book. There's all this stuff going on, but yet everyone else is the bloody same. Everyone is so busy all the time. The problem is, and it's really interesting because people kind of blame work for burnout, but it's not necessarily the work that's burning them out, right? What it is, it's their life, their personal life is also on full throttle. And so when you're at full throttle at work and then you come home and you're also full throttle, and when I say full throttle, I mean every time that you're scrolling on your screens, right, your brain is constantly active. You've got the foot to the floor.
Yeah,
And so people are wondering why they're burning out. It's because they're not allowing their brain to breathe, right?
yeah,
Our physical bodies need to breathe too. We also need to just sit in a hammock physically, but we
yeah,
also need to sit in a hammock and read a book, also just for our brain, just take it off or sit in front of a fire or just watch the ocean or just sit in
yes,
nature,
yeah,
because this allows us to actually not only reset and recover, but recharge. And so for people that think sitting on a couch is their way to recharge while they're watching TV, no, unfortunately, it's not, guys, because you need your brain to actually relax a little bit. And so nature has this amazing thing of switching off your brain because it can't find a pattern. So when you're sitting in front of a fire, and the last 3 nights for me were sitting in front of a fire with my family, by the ocean, there was no tech, it was very primitive. But I realized that, how much our day-to-day lives are taking mental fatigue on our mind and our bodies because of the constant screens and scrolling and expectations of living up to society's means. So that I would say get off the bloody screens, people. Yes. And go outside and play. Go play. Go have some
I
fun.
second that too because I love every Saturday so Friday night till Sunday morning, my phone, every device in the house, which includes the vacuum cleaner and the washing machine,
So
don't go
good.
near.
So good. I love it. Well, I think you should write a book on how to be a unicorn because you've nailed it, mate. So why don't you just put something out there?
Well, I sort of got that idea, and I love your bit about the nature and not having patterns. And I don't know whether you've read this book, but there's a book called A Well-Gardened Mind,
Ooh,
and in
no.
it, the author, who's English, she talks about, how, nature has beautiful rounded shapes in it. Our brain loves the color blue, green, and yellow. And
Mhm.
so from that I took and I live on a farm, so for me, nature's all around me. I just went, it makes so much sense because the moment I go through the driveway at the farm, my brain just goes, "Ah,"
Mhm.
versus if I've been, say, in Canberra or Sydney or Melbourne or somewhere overseas, my brain's like, "Oh, there's so much going on around me." So I think I have a very blessed life too where I live. I think that helps too.
I certainly think it is. And I think, because a lot of our listeners might not be as blessed as yourself
Yeah,
living on a farm. I live in Kingscliff, which is near a beach. So for me, it's always about how do we create this rhythm for their own everyday wellness, no matter where they are. And look, I've been in Sydney twice this week. I'm about to go again on Friday. And so every time I go to Sydney, because it's such a madhouse, like, let's be honest, the moment you get off a plane,
yeah,
it's just stimulation overload. It's
yes,
constant. And
yes.
so for me, the other day, I actually, before I, had to go do my thing, I actually ended up going for a walk. I went down to Circular Quay. I found a nice little shady spot under a tree. I had my lunch down there. I took my shoes off. I watched the water. And it was just for an hour. I just allowed myself to fully disconnect. My phone was off. Like, I was just like in my element. And even though it was very busy around me, I managed to just take this beautiful time to just, disconnect from all the craziness and just reconnect. And I think when you do live in a city, you do have to create this within your day. You have to create this, beautiful life that's supporting you and not one that you're constantly having to support. So anytime I work with leaders, which to be honest, most of them do live in cities, it's about creating one thing each and every day that they can do to take the foot off the accelerator, reconnect back to themselves, find some nature and recharge there.
I love that. That sort of goes beautifully into my next question, which is how do we build real energy rather than just temporary boosts?
So, okay, what a temporary boost. We'll throw coffee in the mix. We'll, we'll throw energy drinks into the mix. Well, all of these things here we are constantly having because we need the boosts, right? Because we are waking up tired and exhausted. We have a big day ahead of us. So we're constantly just taking these short, sharp boosts. Not necessarily, doing a quick job for the moment, but it's certainly not sustainable. And look, I've spent the last 12 years working out how to be sustainable. Now, sustainable comes across as a pretty boring word, but I tell you what, when you allow yourself to thrive and have energy each and every single day to live out your purpose at 100%, this is what, thriving sustainably means. And so, you know this because you're at 96%. Now, what we have to do is we've got to kind of build this rhythm around our life. And before I just said, let's build a life that supports us and not one that we're constantly having to support. Okay, so what does that mean? Now, it's really interesting because when you work with people and you ask to look at their calendar, you can very quickly see what they value most, right? Whether that's work, whether it's family, whether it's their well being. And so if you looked at my calendar, there's lots of gaps, there's lots of spaces that I deliberately put in there to make sure that I'm actually looking after my well-being first. Because look, I have a busy family and there's nothing worse than going in and having low energy, being disconnected from your wife, from your kids, and not actually having that time and space to play with them, to reconnect, with those. And I think sometimes, Danette, we've kind of forgotten what life is about. I
Yes.
think when we get so caught up, we think life's about work. And I know why, because, when we're successful at work, we feel valued, right? We find meaning in there. And then when people come together like our team, we feel like we belong because we're the leader of the ship. And unfortunately, what happens is, and it's a cycle, is that you spend all your energy at work because you feel valued. By the time you get home, you've got nothing left in the tank. So when you walk in the door, you're flat. And then your family feels that, right? And so they're flat too. They're reciprocating you. And so what happens is each and every day you come home, you're flat, your family reciprocates that, and you go, "Oh, I don't feel valued. I'm not getting value from my home life. My wife's not valuing me, or my husband, or my kids." Well, the reason being is because you're not valuing them. You've
Yeah.
forgotten that your energy should also be for the people that love you the most. And so I've had to learn over the years, especially with kids, is that when I walk in the door, I have to make sure that I have a positive energy, right? Now, of course, it doesn't happen 100% of the time. Sometimes life gets really hard and I might have had a really crappy day at work for whatever reason. But I try my very, very best, deliberate effort, that when I walk into my house at night, I bring a positive energy. I put down all of my stuff. I give my wife a big hug and a kiss. I listen to her. I work out how her day is. And then I get on the floor. At the moment, my 4-year-old son, Sonny, he loves playing this game called Cheetah Game. Danette, it's hilarious, but I'm telling you, mate, my back gets put out all the time because all of a sudden you'll just be sitting there, right? And I'll be playing with Frankie, my 2-year-old, giving her a big hug, playing princesses, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden it's like, "Dad, cheetah!" And then I'm like, he'll come out of nowhere, like 360 degrees. I got to work out where his voice is coming from. I have to turn on the spot. I've got my 4-year-old like midair, about to jump on me, doing like, "Ah!" And then and I'm like, "Ah!" And so I'm going to catch him mid-flight while hugging my 2-year-old so she doesn't get like a fly kick to the head. But the thing is, I'm
Uh,
doing that because I have energy, right? Like I'm
yes.
playing because I have energy. And that's the thing. They're the moments in life that they're going to remember. And like that's the stuff that you forget that life's about, because when you're only functioning or surviving, you don't do these things, right? You're just trying to get through the day and you start disconnecting from your own family.
Yeah.
And obviously this is why loneliness gets created now in our home life, because we're disconnected. Then we sit on the couch, we put the TV on as well, scrolling through this, doing some work emails. Totally get why people are disconnected. I understand
Yep.
it.
Yep. Yeah, I love it. Thank you. We get a number of authors on the program, so we love to hear about their writing process just to inspire others about how it's different for each person. So
Oh
8 years
God.
ago, you all started.
Bloody hell.
Love that.
Um, so writing, oh God. Really interesting. I was a terrible, terrible student. Actually, funny enough, the only things I was good at as a student was, sports and
Right.
doing oral English. So actually getting up in front of a class. And for some reason, I've always been able to get up in front of an audience and speak. So I think that becomes, my parents are both charismatic speakers. So thanks to them.
Nice.
Appreciate it. But anything else, like when it came to sitting down and writing, I was useless. Like I honestly was. And the only reason this book got written is because I think I'm so passionate about the subject of thriving sustainably that it just had to get done. And look, let's be honest, I started in 2017, so it wasn't like it was a quick win. But what I noticed was that when I sat down, if I was trying to write, and when I say try, I mean sitting there and trying to think about something to say, the next day I would come back and I'd have to throw it all in the bin. And what I realized was that when I wrote something amazing, it was because I was inspired. And the best way I could get inspired was actually going out and doing the things that I'm trying to get people inspired by, which is really getting them to reconnect back to themselves and others, right? Go outside, go play, And so if I was ever stuck, sometimes I'd just go out for a surf or I'd go play or I'd just go do something that really lit me up. And then
Yes.
all of a sudden, it's like that thing when people say, oh, when I was in the shower, I had this brilliant idea. Well, it's like, well, when Timmy goes play, he has these brilliant ideas. And so I would come back and I would just be like, writing away. And then so anytime I knew that when I needed inspiration, I knew that I had to just go out and play in nature or be around people I love because that was always inspiring for me.
Yep. And how on brand as well. Oh, that's so cool. I love it.
Oh, I know. I must admit, I do walk the talk. My wife would kill me if I didn't anyway. She wouldn't have any of it. She's a 6'5" firefighter, mate. I can't. There's no getting away with anything in my household.
Oh, that's so awesome. So our next question is, tell us more about the Great Reconnect movement that you've created.
Yes. So thanks for asking because I think this is really important. So, as mentioned, we've been measuring Australia's battery now since 2017. We know that fun has been the very lowest wellness area. We know sleep is following closely behind it. And what we'd realized that from, all of the research we've been doing, and it's been a lot, is that in Australia, we are spending less time outdoors than maximum security prisoners.
Wow.
We spend, yeah, it's quite scary. About more than 90% of our time is spent cooped up indoors. Kids are getting shockingly worse than this. We're spending 43 hours of our week outside of work on screens being spectators. And so people are wondering why they're burning out, right? Employers are wondering why their staff are burning out. And the reason being is because we've connected to the things that suck our energy, right? And this is screens, right? Let's be honest. And so what we have to remember is that we need to go back to the things that recharge our batteries, to the things that light us up. And if we're all honest, your favorite memories aren't of watching TV or, sending emails. They're actually spending time with people you love. And most of these things are outdoors in nature. And so what we need to do is we actually need to reconnect to the things that give us energy. Right. And we're only spending around 3 hours each week doing these things. So 43 hours spending time being spectators on screens, right? Watching someone else live their own life, and only 3 hours doing the things that actually energize us. And so my whole thing is just to bring this awareness to people and say, hey guys, like it's okay to watch TV. It's okay to be on screens, but why don't we steal some of this 43 hours of our week and actually give it back to the things that we love doing most? And so let's reconnect back to ourselves and understand where we're at. Let's reconnect back to those people that we love, our family and our friends. And actually let's reconnect back to this beautiful outdoors that we have all around us that's basically missing us. Like this is what I feel like. I feel like the great outdoors is sitting there, the ocean, the forest going, hey guys, where are you? Guys, where are you? Come on, come play. Come outside and
I love
play.
that.
That's what I think's going on at the moment.
Oh, I love that movement. And, it's totally true. It's like, get off those screens. I'm with you totally on that one as well. Get outside. It's beautiful. All
Mm-hmm.
right. Now, we're just about at the end. I can't believe how
Oh,
quickly this has gone. We're definitely going to have to get you back with the team because our
it's
team will
been so
love
fun.
you. So, last thing, is there anything else that you'd like to share? And obviously, hold your book up so that people can see any
Sales plug.
website
Sales plug. Terrible.
Energized by Tim Jack Adams.
Oh dear. Yeah, they can find me at timjackadams.com or LinkedIn. Our company's Green 7. That's kind of where we're doing all the good stuff. Um, the thing I kind of really want to share is it's to leaders, right? And when I say leaders, this could be, you could be leading a household. It doesn't matter if you're a mom, a dad. It could be, leading your community. You might be a principal of a school. You might be a CEO of a large organization. It doesn't matter. But I think what you have to understand, whether you've become a leader deliberately or you've ended up in that situation, you're a role model and people look up to you. And you have this job now as a leader to actually inspire others around you to live a better version of themselves. And I think as leaders, we have to understand that starts with us. And there's this beautiful quote by Carl Christensen. He was a MBA professor at Harvard. And, I'm sort of taking this a little bit out of context, but he said, the measure of your life will be how well you helped other people be better people, right? The measure of your life will be how well you helped other people be better people. And sometimes, I wrote this book around connected leadership because connected leadership is not just leading from your intelligence, but it's also leading from your heart, right? It's about your emotions and it's about how do I inspire other people around me to be the best version of themselves. But we need to understand that as leaders, we also need to reconnect and recharge our batteries. So we're coming from the best version of ourselves. And so for any leader out there that's listening, I just want you to do it better in terms of look after you so then you can look after those that follow you and inspire them as well. So there are my final thoughts for today, Danette.
Oh, Tim, that was such a great conversation. And we'll put a link where people either go to YouTube or our podcast so they can do the battery check as well.
Yes. Let's
That's
find if
such
there's any
a
more unicorns in your listener group. That'd be amazing.
great,
Let's
that'd be so
anyone out there do the batter. If you get above 90%, you let Danette know because you are a unicorn. It's a very small elite group of people.
I love it. I love it. So, Tim, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll definitely get you back on another podcast. And to all of our listeners and viewers, have a magical week.